Billie Eilish is a 24-year-old singer from Los Angeles, California. She has won 10 Grammys, 2 Oscars, and 2 Golden Globes. She is very well known for some of her songs like Bad Guy, Birds of a Feather, Happier Than Ever, and What Was I Made For from the Barbie soundtrack. She is a queer artist and is a very good role model for young women because she stands up for mental health and self expression. Through her songs and her image, she challenges the patriarchal views and stereotypes of women so that we are empowered to stand up for ourselves and others. In Your Power by Billie Eilish, it shows how men have taken advantage of young women and children in inappropriate relationships. It shows how, in society and the public sphere of life, men are dominant and they have much more power than women do, and they will abuse this power to manipulate and take advantage of other women. Your Power fights the patriarchal views that women are supposed to listen to men. The song helps support women to stand up for themselves and realize that they do have power in their own way, and it's not just physical. Your Power explores the idea of inappropriate relationships, and more specifically, a power imbalance between an older man and a younger woman. It demonstrates that so many women have been taken advantage of or sexually assaulted in some way. Men feel the need to be in control all the time, and for that to happen, they tend to strip away women from their power. An example from the song is For You to Keep Her in a Cage. Men will do this by manipulating women into believing it is okay, even though it is sexual assault. She actually shows this in her music video, where she is found with a snake wrapping around her body and pinning her hands to her sides. This is an example of women getting their power taken away by men. It can also be an example of feeling trapped inside of a relationship and not knowing what to do to get out. She is later found without the snake on her, which is a way to show that even though it's difficult, there are still ways for women to regain their power from men. Billie Eilish talks about inappropriate relationships and power dynamics in her song The Power, but she also had a relationship with Jesse Rutherford, who was the lead singer of The Neighborhood. At the time of their relationship, he was 31 and she was only 20 years old. This caused a lot of controversy if this is okay or not, because even though she's an adult and 20 years old, it's still a difficult situation because there's an 11-year age gap, and she can't even legally drink in the United States. They were aware of this controversy and stated that they were happy, and they even made a joke out of their Halloween costumes. She dressed up as a baby, and he dressed up as an old man. Although they were playing this joke about their age gap, it is still infantilism of Billie Eilish that reinforces patriarchal views that Billie was trying to fight in the first place with her song The Power. Something very important to realize is how many young women have been sexually assaulted or taken advantage of. 44% of girls have experienced sexual abuse under the age of 18. Billie Eilish has been in the public view since she was 14 and had to deal with being sexualized even though it's very wrong and she was a child. The song is very personal to her experiences of being a young girl in the spotlight and being able to get taken advantage of easily. She also wears baggy clothing to hide her body because of the way that she has been sexualized in media over the years. She is now very open to standing up against sexual assault and body positivity so that others are not put into the same position as her.
Of Not My Responsibility by Billie Eilish looks at how the song critiques the rules of women's bodies, the male gaze, and how society tends to blame women for how they are perceived. The song was originally performed during the Where Do We Go to World Tour, where Eilish removes layers of clothing on screen while speaking, directly confronting the public commentary about her appearance. The male gaze and body image. One of the core feminist ideas in the song is the critique of the male gaze, a concept often discussed in the feminist theory where women's bodies are constantly judged and controlled through male perspectives. In the song, Eilish says, "Do you know me? Really know me?" This line challenges the way the public feels entitled to judge her body without actually knowing her. Feminists argue that women in the media are often reduced to their appearances rather than their identity, talents, or freedom. Throughout her career, Eilish intentionally wore oversized clothing. This choice resisted the entertainment industry expectation that young female artists should present themselves with revealing clothing. From a feminist perspective, the song exposes how women are viewed regardless of how they present themselves. The victim attitude in clothing. A lyric highlights this common feminist issue. "If I wear what is comfortable, I am not a woman. If I shed the layers, I'm a slut." This line reflects a no-win, or also known as a double-bind woman experience that I looked into. A feminist theory frequently discussing how women are criticized for both being too modest or too sexual. The song criticizes the cultural belief that women are responsible for how others react to their bodies. This connects the broader feminist discussions about the victim mindset, where women are blamed for harassment or assault because of what they wore. By repeating the idea that others are making judgments about her body, Eilish highlights how women's bodies are treated as public property. Reclaiming her voice. The title itself, Not My Responsibility, is a feminist statement advocating for control over one's body. Eilish says in the song, "Is my value based on your perception, or is your opinion of me not my responsibility?" This line directly rejects the idea that women must control their appearances to manage other people's reactions. Feminist theory often emphasizes agency, meaning a woman's right to control her own body, identity, and self expression. Public shaming in the media. The music video of the piece shows Eilish slowly removing layers of clothing while being submerged in black liquid. The imagery symbolizes how women are consumed or drowned by the public eye. This connects to a long history of female celebrities having their bodies publicly analyzed. Feminist media studies argue that women in entertainment are often judged very closely in a way that male artists are not. Eilish wrote this piece partly in response to intense comments after paparazzi photos circulated of her wearing a tank top in 2020. The public reaction demonstrated how quickly society moves to sexualize and judge women's bodies. Identity and self-definition. The song ultimately argues that women should define themselves rather than being defined by others. A key message is that identity is not limited to physical appearance. Feminist thinkers often emphasize that women are socialized to see their bodies as objects for others' evaluation rather than part of their own self. Generations and young women. What makes this piece particularly significant is that Eilish was only a teenager when she wrote and performed it. Young women in pop culture are often expected to be quiet or sit in the shadows, yet this song directly challenges those gender norms. This reflects a broader trend in feminism where younger artists openly discuss body control, slut shaming, and media objectification. In all, the song really functions as a critique of how society judges women's bodies and sexuality. It exposes the truth of the male gaze, rejects victim blaming, and assigns that women's worth and identity should not be determined by public perception. To get an overall stronger feminist analysis, we can use both Billie Eilish's songs Not My Responsibility and Your Power together. When analyzed side by side, clear patterns emerge around power, control, and the policing of women's bodies. Power and control over women's bodies. Both songs address how society and powerful individuals attempt to control or judge women's bodies and choices. The song focuses on social judgment and objectification, showing how women are constantly evaluated through appearance. In Your Power, the focus shifts to the abuse of authority, particularly older men exploiting younger women. Challenging patriarchal norms. Together, the songs strongly challenge patriarchal systems that normalize control over women. Not My Responsibility questions why society feels entitled to judge women's bodies, and Your Power criticizes men for their influence to exploit young women. Patriarchal culture often protects male authority while blaming women for the consequences. In Your Power, Eilish directly calls out that dynamic, exposing how those in power manipulate innocence and avoid accountability. Offering empowerment. In Not My Responsibility, empowerment comes through rejecting public judgment. The message that others' opinions are not my responsibility encourages women to reclaim control over how they present themselves. In Your Power, empowerment appears through naming abuse and holding perpetrators accountable. The song brings attention to manipulative dynamics that are often hidden or normalized. By speaking openly about these experiences, Eilish contributes to a broader conversations about consent, control, and accountability. The pattern across both songs is that empowerment comes from exposing harmful dynamics and reclaiming personal control, reinforcing the traditional gender roles. While her songs critique sexism, it also reveals how deeply traditional roles shape women's experiences. These dynamics appear throughout both songs. Although Eilish is criticizing these expectations, the songs still reflect the reality that women are often defined by appearance, innocence, or vulnerability in patriarchal culture. The pattern across the songs is that her work acknowledges and exposes traditional gender roles and the overall feminist pattern. Looking across Not My Responsibility and Your Power, a clear pattern emerges. Billie Eilish's work primarily challenges patriarchal norms by exposing objectification and abuse of power, offers empowerment by encouraging control and accountability, and contains contradictions